It has been said that the reign of Ashoka forms the brightest pages in the history of India. King Ashoka ruled the Mauryan Empire from 274 BCE to 232 BCE, a 42-year reign over a population of approximately 50 million people. At one point, the Mauryan Empire extended all the way from the border of Persia to Bengal, a vast area that was larger than the Mughal Empire. As the most influential Buddhist leader of his time, Ashoka's conversion to Buddhism changed the dynamic of society. By adopting and interpreting the Buddha Dhamma, Ashoka demonstrated the importance of nonviolence and the sanctity of life. In this slidecast, I will analyze Ashoka's life before Buddhism, conversion to Buddhism, changes made to society, and his interpretation of the Buddha Dhamma. Furthermore, I will attempt to describe the underlying reasons for adopting ahimsa, or nonviolence, for kings who rule ruthlessly. My thesis is, by experiencing the ultimate extreme of death during battle, King Ashoka adopts the opposite practice of ahimsa and the Buddhist teachings to conciliate his remorse. It is evident that adopting nonviolence is the only way that King Ashoka can deal with his self-condemnation and suffering caused under his rule. Buddhism in India. Though the spread of Buddhism in India is attributed to King Ashoka, Siddhartha Gautama is the central figure of Buddhism. Changes in society after the death of the Buddha can be seen through the origin of the Sangha, or the Buddhist monastic community. The Sangha observes the early monastic code prescribed by the authoritative texts of the Vinaya Pitaka, assembled shortly after the Buddha's death. There are two main sects of Buddhism, the Theravada tradition that spread to southern Asia and the Mahayana tradition that extended to the west and the north of India. Life before Buddhism. In 322 BCE, Ashoka's grandfather Chandragupta Maurya founded the Mauryan Empire. Chandragupta extended the territory of India and conquered land in every direction, and during his reign, India was unified under the same rule. He passed his kingdom to his son, Bindusara, but it was not until his grandson, Ashoka, that India was truly reformed. Ashoka was anointed in 274 BCE, and immediately continued a rule of oppression and adopted capital punishment. It was clear that he showed mercy to no one, with even the slightest infraction costing someone his or her life. Ashoka was harsh in his ruling and determined from his private investigators that his people spoke ill of him. In an effort to win the favor of his citizens, Ashoka attempted to wage wars and ordered the massacre of hundreds of thousands of people within the state of Kalinga. Reasons for conversion to Buddhism. Having witnessed the brutality of war, Ashoka realized that there was nothing to gain by winning. As such, he renounced the intention to expand India further than the Mauryan Empire and turned his attention to internal progress and peace. By adopting the practice of ahimsa, or nonviolence, Ashoka urged citizens to recognize the sanctity of all life. Nonviolence was the only way Ashoka could alleviate the suffering he felt after witnessing firsthand the destruction caused by wars. By foregoing all harm, he tried to re-establish the sanctity of life for himself. Changes made in society. After undergoing a spiritual transformation, Ashoka ceased all military conquests and violence, focusing his efforts on his people instead. Under Ashoka's rule, many schools, hospitals, and wells were built in India, signifying the need for a community-based establishment for the proselytization of Buddhism and its teachings. Ashoka went on pilgrimages to Buddhist holy sites and spread Buddhism beyond the borders of India. In honor of the Buddha, Ashoka ordered 84,000 stupas, or places of worship, to be built. Other changes to society include the elimination of unnecessary slaughter of animals. Immediately after his conversion to Buddhism, Ashoka called for the protection of wildlife by banning all sport hunting and branding of animals. Through these changes, Ashoka instilled a sense of equality within his kingdom, a change that was well received by the citizens of the Mauryan Empire. Prisoners were allowed one free day a year, university establishments allowed for the easy access to education, and city infrastructure was improved to supply water transit and irrigation systems all year round. The once hostile territories of the Mauryan Empire now had trade routes that allowed them to become allies. This was also the case for surrounding kingdoms after Ashoka implanted mutual respect through the Buddha Dhamma. By making changes in society that included the rule of ahimsa and adopting the extreme opposite of death and war, Ashoka attempted to compensate for all of the pain and suffering caused to life under his rule. All of Ashoka's subjects are able to adopt these changes because of the underlying religious similarities between Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism at the time. When arrogating new customs and city infrastructure, such as waterways and hospitals, Ashoka's new outlook on society brings people together and dissolves the social block caused by the diversity of religions. Interpretation of the Buddha Dhamma. In the attempt to inspire harmony and compassion in all of his subjects, Ashoka adopted and propagated the Buddha Dhamma, or the righteous way of becoming a respectful and responsible human being. For progress, Ashoka stressed that everyone should live by the same moral, religious, and civil code, which are at the core of Hindu, Jain, and Buddhist teachings. When the king became a Buddhist, this allowed for the proselytization of most of his subjects, and the overall improved outlook on the religion. Buddhism was no longer a religion that appealed primarily to the upper-class, well-educated people, but rather an all-encompassing and inclusive religion. Ashoka interpreted the Buddha Dhamma as the one-size-fits-all code of morality and described his view as doing little evil but much good. Perhaps the reason why Ashoka adopted the extreme opposite view from the brutality of war was a deeper understanding of the effects of war and destruction. Ashoka actively participated in the takeover of villages, so the switch to the polar extreme of ahimsa seems fitting for a remorseful king. By adopting and disseminating Buddha Dhamma, Ashoka transforms the need for the brutal demolishment and takeover of other people to a need for equality and righteousness. Ashoka's edicts. All of the information currently known from the time of Ashoka's reign was made possible through the interpretation of several rock and pillar edicts. These edicts were scattered in more than 30 places throughout India, exemplifying the constant reminder to follow the Buddha Dhamma as advocated by Ashoka. Written in local script, the inclusiveness of Ashoka's message could have been interpreted by many citizens. The edict provided a constant reminder for the unification and respect for life that Ashoka adopted. After converting to Buddhism, Ashoka ascribed to the Buddha Dhamma and enacted change in his kingdom. By codifying these regulations, Ashoka was able to control the practice of ahimsa. Therefore, he was able to honor his pledge for nonviolence and make amends with the remorse for the deaths from previous wars. King Ashoka and King Akbar. Almost 2,000 years later in the Mughal Empire, where Akbar the Great reigned as the third ruler, the same pattern emerged. Known as the fearless and ruthless king, Akbar fought in long and bloody battles. During his 50-year reign, Akbar was praised as one of the most tolerant and open-minded Muslim rulers. He proclaimed that all religions are equal and in so doing adopted a pluralistic view that allowed for the progress in medieval India. Both kings are instrumental to the changes we see during their reign, as they instill awareness for equality within their societies. For Ashoka, the ultimate switch to ahimsa after a long history of battle points to his understandings of the importance of Buddha Dhamma in society. By promulgating the central tenets of Buddhism, Ashoka effectively reestablishes the sanctity of life for himself and ingrains this teaching in his edicts.